Hello, in this video lecture, I discuss pharmacopoeia and its contents. In my earlier video lecture, I discuss and elaborate the evolution of pharmacopoeia and also discussed why we need pharmacopoeia or what is or what are the essentialities for having this particular monograph. So anyhow, in this lecture, I further discuss the pharmacopoeia as well as its content. So before moving further, I here again let you know what ultimately the pharmacopoeia is. So pharmacopoeia is nothing but an official as well as authentic book or a monograph which contains quality as well as the standard parameter which are to be maintained for each and every pharmaceutical preparations. Also, the pharmacopoeia contains the quality parameters for raw materials which are used in manufacturing of various drug substances. So anyhow, the pharmacopoeia is a authentic book which specify what ultimately the standard as well as the quality parameter which are essentially to be maintained regarding pharmaceutical preparations. Now here in this lecture I discuss here the contents which are quoted in the pharmacopoeia regarding pharmaceutical substances. So I here mentioned a total of 12 contents in a serial order. So the very first one is the title. The second one is the formula weight and molecular weight. Third is the category. Then doses. This is the fourth content. Description. Sixth one is the solubility parameter. The next one is standard. Various identification test as an eighth content. pH. The 10th one is the permissible limit for impurities. present in a pharmaceutical substance. Then the 11th one is the assay, and the final one, or the 12th, is the storage condition which to be maintained for a pharmaceutical substance or the preparation. So anyhow, these all are the contents which are maintained or which are quoted in pharmacopoeia. Now one by one I discuss and elaborate each content which I mentioned and let you know its purpose and essentiality in pharmacopoeia. So let us discuss the very first one, or the very first content, that is the title. So title is the official name of the compound which is used as a medicament. And as per the rule, the official name of that particular compound which is used as a medicament, or the one which is used for the formulation of pharmaceutical preparation, that should be essentially presented in English. So the title indicates official name of the compound and it should be in English. Sometime if subtitle is also included, and in such a case if the official name is presented along with subtitle, that particular subtitle should be a valid synonym. For an example, the calcium carbonate can be or also be known as precipitated chalk. Followed by title, there is formula weight and the molecular weight of that particular compound. So every pure compound or each and every chemical which is having a known chemical composition always have a formula weight and a molecular weight. So for known compounds or for pure compounds which is having known chemical composition, their after title they should have, or their formula weight and molecular weight should be quoted after title. For an example, KMnO4 have a molecular weight of 158 and so on. Whatever a pure compound which is used purposefully as a medicament or for their preparation or formulation, their formula weight and molecular weight must be quoted right after the title. In a case for a new compound or for a new chemical entity whose molecular weight or whose purity is not judged or its exact chemical composition is unknown. In such a case, formula weight and molecular weight of that particular compound can be skipped. Category is the next content after formula weight and the molecular weight, and this category represents the therapeutic importance or the pharmacological property of that particular compound. This means the category is used in order to denote the therapeutic value of that particular chemical compound or the substance. So, as I said, category indicates the principal pharmaceutical application or the therapeutic or the pharmacological property of that particular substance. For an example, a chemical compound or a compound medicament can be used as an antacid, that is the substance which are used to neutralize excess acid present in the stomach, or it can be used as an hematinics. Hematinics means it is used to increase the iron content or for the treatment of anemic disorder, or it can also be used as an astringent. So these all are the therapeutic category of any chemical compound on the basis of its pharmacological property. So wherever that particular compound is not having any pharmacological property, it must be, or it is devoid of any pharmacological or therapeutic property. In such a case, it must be quoted as a pharmaceutical aid. The next content is the doses or the dose. So a dose or a doses for a medicament or a formulation means a pharmaceutical formulation, indicates the net quantity of medicament or the formulation which must be prescribed in order to achieve a therapeutic effect, and that particular quantity on one hand is able to have a therapeutic effect, right? On another hand, or on other hand, it should not cause any severe toxic effect simultaneously. So the dose should be prescribed or set according to the age, sex, as well as the disease condition. So let us discuss the description as a content in the pharmacopoeia. Description contains the physical property of that particular chemical compound or the substance which is mentioned under the pharmacopoeia. Now the physical property includes the state. The state can be it can be solid, it can be semi-solid, it can be liquid, it can be crystalline, it can be amorphous. So these all includes under the state of matter, or the state of that particular substance which is described under the pharmacopoeia. Then its color, then its odor and the taste. So these all includes under the description. And the purpose of mentioning all these properties under the description, they also helps as a primary indicator for identification. These physical properties helps in order to know the chemical as well as the purity integrity of that particular substance. For an example, in case of calcium carbonate, we all know that it exists as a fine powder which is white in color, and it is an odorless and tasteless compound. So this is all these properties as for calcium carbonate are authentic and well established. Anyhow, if we are getting a calcium carbonate which is rather than white, it is pink in color, or it is black in color, or it is red in color, and it is having an astringent odor or having a very sour taste, so we cannot categorize that particular compound as a calcium carbonate. Although it is a calcium carbonate, but its state, its color and its taste gets changed, and its odor gets changed due to presence of certain impurity within it. So this is how this description helps us to know or help us to identify a particular compound or a drug substance. So let us discuss the next content, that is the solubility. And we all know what the solubility is. Anyhow, here for the purpose of solubilizing any medicament or a related substance, I here define the solubility technically as it is the capacity of a solute to pass into a solvent. So accordingly, different solute on the basis of their chemical property, they have different degree of solubility in a particular solvent, and as per general rule, like dissolves like is applicable for solubilizing the solute in a solvent. For example, the polar solute gets more solubilized in a polar solvent, and the non-polar solutes are solubilized more easily in a non-polar solvent. However, technically the solubility can be qualitative as well as it is a quantitative term. Now, solubility is the qualitative when we are very roughly defining the solubility, or we are just quoting the solubility in any solvent, that the particular content is dissolved or not, or it is a qualitative term where there is no definite quantity of solute or the solvent is anyhow be known. It is just for the purpose of depiction. However, the solubility can also be a quantitative term, and anyhow in case of a drug moiety or for the purposefully for a medicament, it is better to define the solubility in a quantitative term. And as I said, that different solutes have a different tendency to pass in a solvent. So Accordingly, a solute can be a very soluble in a solvent, or it is a freely soluble, or it is soluble, it is sparingly soluble, it is slightly soluble, it is very slightly soluble, or it is practically insoluble. So how ultimately a particular solute can be defined under all these headings? This is on the basis of how many parts of solvent in which one part of solute will ultimately be dissolved. So anyhow, a solute which is very soluble in a solvent, it get dissolved in less than a part. Only less than a part of solvent is required to dissolve a solute which is very soluble. Solids which are freely soluble, they are dissolved in 1 to 10 parts of the solvent. A solute is said to be soluble if it dissolves in between 10 to 30 parts of solvent. Any solute is said to be sparingly soluble if it dissolves between 30 to 100 parts of solvent. Slightly soluble solute dissolved between 100 to 1000 parts. Very slightly soluble solute dissolves between 1000 to 10,000 parts. Insoluble solute are dissolved, or insoluble solute are not dissolved, or in order to get them dissolved, they require the net quantity of solvent which is greater than 10,000 parts. So anyhow, this is how quantitatively the solubility is defined, and according to the number of how many parts of solvent is required to dissolve a part of solute, the solubility can be quoted according to as I discuss here. So the next one, the seventh one, is the standard, and the standard is very important content in the monograph. As its name indicates, standard defines the quality of that particular compound which is used purposefully as a therapeutic molecule or as a therapeutic moiety. So here standard means exactly the quantitative purity of the compound. This standard defines the degree of purity or the extent to which a compound is present in its pure state. For an example, I here taken an example of KBr, that is potassium bromide, and as per its standard, I quoted here as it is as 98%. So the 98% is its composition purity, and this 98% is pure. This particular KBr is 98% pure in reference to the standard dry substance. Now the standard dry substance is itself a KBr, which is the standard one, and when we are comparing this KBr with that of standard, we here find out that our product or the R sample is anyhow is 98% pure in reference to the standard KBr, which is totally dried. So let us discuss the eighth content, that is identification. And among 12 contents, this is the eighth one. And what does this identification indicate? This identification indicates specific chemical tests which are used for the identification of titled compound. So, the specific chemical test, as I said, The outcome of these specific chemical tests according to the composition of titled compound can be a colored reaction or the formation of color as an end product, which anyhow used for the identification of particular compound which is present in the medicament or the titled compound, or the outcome of that particular chemical test is the formation of any precipitate at the end of the reaction, which anyhow confirms the presence of particular substance or the moiety in the titled compound or in the medicament, or the outcome of chemical test used for the identification is the evolution of gas. Beside this, presence of specific order, etc., can also be used as a identification of titled compound or the medicament. And all these chemical tests used for the identification is mentioned under the 8th heading, that is identification. The next one is the pH. pH defines the acid or basic property of the title compound, and beside the acid or basic property, a compound can also have a neutral pH also. So any compound is said to be possessing an acidic property when it is having a pH less than 7, and a compound is categorized as a basic compound or an alkaline compound if it is having a pH which is greater than 7, and the compound which is having a pH which is equals to 7 is categorized as a neutral compound. So anyhow, depending on the basis of pH, a compound can be acidic, basic, or it can also be a neutral one. So here, under the content, the pH also define all these properties. Now, how this pH affects a particular compound or a chemical, or how its pH will affect the therapeutic importance of the chemical moiety or a chemical compound. So pH generally governs or it's controlled many factors. And it is having a capacity to affect the physiochemical property, as well as the pH affects the storage criteria as well as the condition of that particular substance or the medicament. Also, a formulation chemist, if knows the pH of his main compound or the active ingredient, he can anyhow plan how to formulate that particular medicament or drug substance into a pharmaceutical preparation. So the pH have a very wide role in terms of or in pharmaceutical preparation. However, it is mentioned under the 9th category, which I discussed earlier. So the 10th content is the limits of impurity, and this limits of impurity defines the permissible limit of various impurity which are present in a particular compound. So as different compounds have different impurity present in them, and as we all know that impurity should not be present as they are having various adverse effect both on the physiochemical property of the main compound as well as it have a toxic property or the toxic effect on the body itself. However, wherever applicable or wherever this can be permitted, such permissible limit for an impurity can be quoted, or impurity can be present within a defined limit. And in order to know whether the impurity present in any compound is, or the impurity present in the main compound is present well within a limit or it present beyond the limit, various tests are anyhow defined which are used to detect the extent or the degree of impurity present in the sample. For an example, limit test for chloride, which is used to know the quantity or the degree of chloride present as an impurity in the main compound. Then the limit test for the sulfate, limit test for the iron, limit test for the heavy metals, etc. are the tests which are used in order to know whether the impurity present in the main compound, it is present well within a limit or it is present beyond the limit. So I have discussed all these tests also, each test in detail also in my earlier or in my other video lectures, and also I discussed the impurities and its sources in my previous video lectures itself. So anyone who want to go through that in order to know what is the impurity is and what ultimately its sources, and also regarding the limit test of chloride, sulfate, irons and heavy metals, they can anyhow go through the video lectures which I have posted. So the next one is the essay, the 11th content. And what does essay represents? Essay represents the analytical procedure which is used to judge the active principle. So under this heading, that is under the essay, there is a step-by-step procedure. The procedure here means the analytical procedure which is ultimately be adopted in order to know the exact quantity of active principle present in the medicament. So we can also here say that assay is used as a method in order to know the net quantity of the active principle present in the medicament. So purposefully, for the purpose of inorganic substances, the assay can be performed by volumetric methods, or simultaneously the assay of that particular main ingredient or the principal compound can also be performed by gravimetric analysis. And this totally depends, the nature of assay procedure is totally depends upon again the physiochemical property of that particular compounds. So anyhow, whatsoever the method is used in order to judge or in order to know the active principle present in the main compound, the assay anyhow indicates the step-by-step analytical procedure in order to judge the active principle present in the medicament. So the last one here is the storage conditions. The storage defines the condition to store the medicament or the final pharmaceutical formulation. So, storage of any pharmaceutical formulation or the principal ingredients depends totally upon the physiochemical property of that particular compound. For an example, light sensitive compound should be placed away from direct contact with light, or they must be placed in a dark place so that the light cannot be reached to them, or they cannot become in contact with the light. Then hygroscopic chemicals, which is having the tendency to absorb the moisture from the atmosphere or from the air, should be placed away from the water or from the moisture, and they must be stored in a dry place. Likewise, the chemicals which are heat sensitive, they must be stored in a cool place, or they must be stored away from the heat. So depending what ultimately the physiochemical characteristic of that particular compound, and what ultimately, or what temperature is ultimately suits to the compound, its storage condition is anyhow we meant like this. So under this storage, which is the last content of the pharmacopoeia, this ultimately let us know the exact storage condition for the medicament or the formulation.